Have you ever noticed how certain people seem to bother you just by their presence, even when they say absolutely nothing? Maybe you yourself have experienced situations where you felt uncomfortable looks or resistance without understanding exactly why. This happens because we all carry a unique energy, something we can call an aura. Some people, however, have an especially powerful and striking aura, which can even cause strangeness or uneasiness in those around them. According to Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in analytical psychology, what deeply bothers us about another person often reveals something about ourselves, repressed aspects, fears, and inner insecurities. Jung called this projection. In other words, when someone has a strong and authentic energy, it is possible that they unconsciously awaken hidden feelings in those close to them. But is having a powerful aura a bad thing? No, quite the opposite. If you've ever experienced this, there's a good chance that people's discomfort is a reflection of your inner light, your authenticity, and the courage to truly be who you are. The goal of this video is to help you notice and recognize these signs as something positive. In the next few minutes, we'll explore together the 13 clear signs that you have an aura so powerful that it can bother others, and understand why this is, in fact, a clear manifestation of personal strength and self-knowledge. Before we move forward, make sure you are subscribed to the channel right now, so you don't miss out on powerful content like this that will transform your perception of yourself and your relationships with other people. Let's discover together the real power of your presence. Aura and other people's insecurity. The mirror effect. The truth is that not everyone is prepared to deal with the energy of someone who knows and accepts themselves. When a person enters a room with confidence, clarity, and authenticity, they don't just take up space, they reveal, even unintentionally, what others are trying to hide. Carl Jung taught us that everything we avoid seeing in ourselves ends up being projected onto others. He called this the shadow, the set of repressed aspects of our personality that we don't want to acknowledge. When someone has a strong, confident, and centered aura, they end up acting as a mirror for these shadows. Without saying a word, their presence invites others to see themselves more deeply, and that's not always comfortable. People with this energy are like beacons. They illuminate everything around them, including the dark corners of others, but not everyone wants to see their own darkness. That's when discomfort, resistance, veiled criticism, or even withdrawal arise. It's not about you being too much or doing something wrong. It's about what you awaken. This type of reaction is common in people who are still far from self-aware. Instead of reflecting on what they feel, they end up blaming the source of the feeling. In this case, you. This is why many times people with a strong aura feel misunderstood or judged for no clear reason. Understanding this is liberating. You stop taking responsibility for other people's reactions and start to realize that the discomfort we cause isn't always negative. Sometimes it's just the beginning of a process of transformation, for them or for you. And if you've ever experienced this, take a deep breath. You're not alone. There are many people with this same powerful energy, walking in silence, facing stairs, and still keeping their essence intact. Because at the end of the day, being a mirror is also a form of mission. By the way, if this content is making sense to you, leave a like on this video. This will help spread this message to other people who also need to understand the value of their own energy. Now that you understand why your presence can be so impactful, it's time to identify the clearest signs of this inner strength. And that's exactly what we'll begin to explore in the next chapter. Now that you understand how your presence can reflect what others don't want to see, let's dive into the concrete signs that indicate a powerful aura. These signs don't come from effort, they're part of who you are, and that's exactly why they're so impactful. Below, you will learn about the first 4 signs of this intense energy that lives within you. Sign 1. Your silence is disturbing. You don't have to talk a lot to be noticed. In fact, oftentimes, it's your silence that causes the most discomfort. In a world where noise reigns, those who remain silent convey authority, balance, and introspection. This silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It says, I am here, and I am at peace with myself. And that can be deeply threatening to anyone who depends on external approval to feel like a person. Carl Jung said that those who know themselves do not need to show off. Silence is often the sound of a clear conscience. Sign 2. You are authentic. Even when it makes you uncomfortable, You don't fake it. You don't put on social masks to be accepted. This doesn't mean you're rude. You just don't conform to other people's expectations. You'd rather be real than be loved for something you're not. Authenticity is rare, and anything rare tends to provoke extreme reactions. Some are enchanted, others reject it, but everyone feels it. Living authentically requires courage, and that courage is one of the most obvious signs of a powerful aura. Sign 3. You have a strong intuition. You perceive what is behind the words. You capture intentions, energies, and emotions, even when no one says anything. It is as if something inside you is always reading the environment, detecting what is out of harmony. This sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a form of quiet wisdom. Jung believed that the unconscious communicates through symbols, sensations, and subtle signals. Intuitive people are more in tune with this language. Therefore, your intuition often anticipates conflicts, recognizes falsehoods, and even warns about people or situations that others do not notice. This can generate distrust or discomfort in those who do not yet understand their own intuition. Sign 4. Your presence is noticeable even in silence. Even if you enter a place discreetly, your energy does not go unnoticed. People notice. They turn around. They are curious, sometimes intimidated, and often they do not know how to explain why. This type of presence is not something that can be manufactured. It arises from the alignment between what you think, feel, and do. When there is internal coherence, external presence intensifies. Jung talked about individuation, the process of becoming who you really are. When someone is on this path, their presence naturally stands out, not out of arrogance but out of integrity. People with strong auras don't need to compete for attention. They simply exist, and that's enough. As we move forward in identifying these signs, it becomes increasingly clear that having a powerful aura is not about dominating others, but rather about dominating yourself. People with this energy do not strive to assert themselves. They simply are. And because of this, they continue to elicit reactions that are not always easy to interpret. Let's now dive into 4 more signs that characterize this type of transformative presence. Sign 5. You are emotionally self-sufficient. You don't depend on external approval to feel complete. While you appreciate genuine connections, you don't need them to validate who you are. This emotional autonomy can be interpreted as coldness or arrogance by those who are always seeking attention or affection. People with a powerful aura find security within themselves. They know how to deal with loneliness, not as a punishment, but as a space for reflection and strengthening. Carl Jung said that the true self only emerges when we manage to distance ourselves from the crowd. Your emotional independence is a clear expression of this contact with your inner self. Sign 6. You speak truths that others avoid. You are not afraid to say what needs to be said, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Your commitment is to the truth, not convenience. This often makes you come across as tough or too direct, but in reality this is just a reflection of your integrity. You can't stand superficiality and prefer a sincere conversation to a false compliment. And even when you choose silence, your expression conveys more than empty words. This type of honesty activates the defenses of those who still live in denial. And because of this, you may end up being the target of criticism or unexpected dismissal. Sign 7. People can't label you easily. You don't fit into stereotypes. You are too complex to be defined in a few words. And this freedom to be who you are without fitting into boxes bothers those who feel more secure when they can predict or classify others. Your way of thinking, acting, and feeling is outside the norm. Sometimes you may be called intense and strange or unpredictable, but in reality, this is just the difficulty others have in keeping up with your depth. Jung said that the process of individuation makes us unique, and this uniqueness naturally challenges the collective mind, which prefers predictable patterns. Sign 8. You've been rejected for no clear reason. You approach someone with good intentions, but suddenly they pull away, change their behavior, or start avoiding you without explanation. This may have happened more than once, and maybe you blamed yourself for it, trying to find fault with yourself. But the truth is that rejection isn't always related to something you've done. Often it happens because your energy triggers deep insecurities in others, and the pushback is an unconscious attempt to protect themselves from that discomfort. It is important to understand that this rejection does not define your worth. On the contrary, it is a sign that you carry something that not everyone is prepared to receive. If you've already recognized yourself in some of the previous signs, get ready. The last 5 bring even more clarity to the strength you carry. This energy, which so many perceive even before you speak, is not an illusion. It's a reflection of who you really are inside. These signs are the confirmation of an inner truth that you may have felt but have never been able to name precisely. Let's look at them. Sign 9. You attract people intensely, for better or for worse. There is something about you that draws attention. People feel curious, attracted, enchanted. In many cases, this happens without any effort on your part. Your aura has a kind of natural magnetism which both attracts and repels. But this same magnetism can also attract people who are envious, controlling, or emotionally needy. And this can be exhausting, especially if you are not emotionally shielded. This intense attraction has nothing to do with appearance but with energetic presence. Jung would say that it is the expression of the soul, something that escapes conscious control, but that resonates deeply with the collective unconscious. Sign 10. You don't fake feelings. You can't force sympathy, laugh when you don't find it funny, or feign interest where there is none. Your expression is sincere, your speech is direct, and your emotions are honest. And while this is a virtue, not everyone sees it that way. Many people prefer the comfort of social conventions, where everyone acts to maintain harmony, but you simply don't know how or can't act. Your sincerity, sometimes read as rudeness or lack of tact, is just your natural way of being. This emotional clarity can be disconcerting to those who still hide behind masks. Sign 11. People consider you cold because you don't react like others. While many people get carried away by impulses or exaggerated emotional reactions, you remain centered. You observe more than you speak. You analyze before responding. And for this reason, you can be interpreted as someone who is insensitive. But what appears to be coolness is actually self-control. You don't react, you respond. And that difference is essential. In a world where most people act based on the emotion of the moment, your centered stance stands out. Jung argued that emotional maturity arises from the integration of reason and emotion, and that is exactly what you have built. Sign 12. You bounce back. Quickly after falls, you don't play the victim for long. Even when you suffer, there is a silent force inside you that drives you forward. You learn, you reframe, and you move on. This confuses a lot of people who would expect to see you broken for longer. This natural resilience is not arrogance. It is the result of a deep connection with one's own essence. Those who know their own pain but do not define themselves by it become practically unshakable. And that's why you always come back, stronger, always. Sign 13. You inspire others effortlessly. You don't try to impress. You don't seek applause. But there is still something about you that inspires. It could be your calmness, your way of thinking, your courage to be authentic, or simply the way you walk in silence without asking permission to exist. This spontaneous inspiration is one of the biggest signs of a powerful aura. And the best part is that you might not even realize it. For Jung, the soul that finds its path naturally illuminates the path of others. And that is exactly what its energy does. It ignites, awakens, and transforms without needing to make a fuss. Now that you know all 13 signs, you can begin to look at your history more clearly. Many of the judgments, rejections, or misunderstandings you've faced may actually have been confirmations of your personal power. And if you identified with these signs, I would like to invite you to comment below. Which one resonated with you the most? Your experience may be similar to that of other people who are going through this same silent journey. Let's create a space for exchange and recognition. In the next chapter, we'll consider what it means to carry this strength and how it can, yes, come at a price, but also have a profound reward. The price of being strong, loneliness, and judgment. Having a powerful aura isn't just a blessing, it's often a burden, because the more you know yourself, the more you realize that not everyone is ready to follow you. And that inevitably comes at a price. One of the first costs is loneliness. Not because you don't like people, but because over time you realize that you can only truly connect with those who vibrate on the same frequency. Superficial conversations tire you out, social masks distance you, and this naturally reduces your circle. You start to value silence, moments alone, spaces where you can breathe without having to explain yourself. But still, at times, this isolation weighs on you. You look around and feel that few people really see you, and even fewer understand you. Another cost is constant judgment. Your firmness can be read as arrogance, your independence as coldness, your sincerity as rudeness. Even when you act with a pure heart, there is always someone who interprets your light as a threat, and that gets tiring. It gets tiring having to defend yourself for things you didn't do. It gets tiring trying to explain yourself when all you wanted was to just exist in peace. Carl Jung spoke of the archetype of the outgroup, the one who, in following his own journey of individuation, inevitably distances himself from the collective, not because he thinks he is better, but because he is following a path that few choose to follow. But here's the quiet truth. The path to authenticity is lonely, yes, but it's also liberating. You learn to be self-sufficient, to trust your own intuition, to build your peace within, even when the outside world doesn't understand. And, over time, you discover something powerful, that this silence doesn't weaken you, it anchors you. In the next chapter, we will dive deeper into the journey of self-knowledge and understand how to transform this loneliness into wisdom and this judgment into confirmation of your own growth. The journey of self-knowledge, light, shadow, and acceptance. Getting this far is in itself a demonstration of inner strength. Recognizing these signs, facing the weight of one's own presence, and understanding the impact it causes requires courage. And it is precisely this courage that begins an even deeper journey, that of true self-knowledge. Carl Jung stated that we all carry an internal duality, light and shadow. The light represents what we accept in ourselves, what we show to the world. The shadow is everything we repress, deny, or hide, often without realizing it. The journey of self-knowledge, according to Jung, is precisely the integration of these two parts. It is the process of becoming whole. For those with a powerful aura, this process is even more evident, because the more you shine on the outside, the more you are called to look within. And there is no true light without recognized shadow. The more you accept the parts of yourself that you are still learning to love, the more authentic and centered your energy becomes. This journey is silent but transformative. It doesn't require haste or perfection, just presence. You begin to realize that you don't have to conform to what others expect, that you don't have to hide your strength to be accepted, that you don't have to dim your light so as not to be a nuisance. On the contrary, it is when you embrace who you are completely, with your pains, imperfections, and gifts, that your aura becomes truly powerful. No longer as something that intimidates, but as something that inspires. Accepting yourself completely is what sets you free. You stop seeking validation because you already know who you are. You stop fearing judgment because you have already accepted your inner truths. And most importantly, you start living with more ease, not because the world has become easier, but because your attitude towards it has changed. This transformation cannot be seen in the eyes of others. It can be felt in the heart. It is when silence becomes comfortable, solitude becomes an opportunity, and each day becomes an expression of your true self. And if this content is making sense to you, click the like button now. This shows that this message really reached you and helps more people to also see their own light. In the next and final chapter, we will end this journey with a message of power, hope, and affirmation, because the time has come for you to let your light shine without fear. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you recognized every word. Maybe it was the feeling that someone was finally putting into words what you've always felt but could never explain. Maybe it was the relief of realizing you're not alone. Or maybe it was just the silent understanding that your strength was never a flaw. It was always a gift. The truth is that the world needs your light, even if not everyone knows how to deal with it. Throughout this journey, we have seen that a powerful aura can trigger uncomfortable reactions, misunderstanding, judgment, withdrawal, and for a long time, it can make you doubt yourself. It can make you think you need to fit in, shut up, or hide. But now you know. The discomfort you cause in some people is just a reflection of the strength you awaken. And life didn't give you this strength by chance. It's part of your mission, part of the impact you came to make. Not to please everyone, but to be true to yourself. Your light is not noisy, but it is firm. It does not need to convince, it just exists. And when you accept it, when you stop questioning yourself for being different, something magical happens. You become whole. Being whole is not about being perfect. It's about being true. It's about living with awareness. It's about making mistakes, learning, falling, and getting up again, all without losing connection with who you really are. And that is the greatest freedom anyone can achieve, living in peace with their own energy. It's not about isolating yourself, but about protecting yourself. It's not about justifying yourself, but about asserting yourself. It's not about diminishing your light to fit in. It's about expanding it to illuminate. Carl Jung said that what you are screams so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. And this phrase sums up what your presence represents. It speaks for itself. It transforms, inspires, confronts, and awakens, even in silence. Now it's up to you. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to let your energy shine without guilt. It's time to take your place in the world without fear. It's time to recognize that your difference is precisely your mission. So take everything you've learned, here with you. But more than that, put it into practice. Walk with your head held high. Honor your history. Respect your intuition. And never apologize for being who you are again. And if this message really touched you, subscribe to the channel right now, because here you will always find reflections like this to strengthen your mind, your energy, and your journey of self-knowledge. Keep being the light, even when it bothers you, especially when it bothers you.